Hello and welcome to the Prime Reckoning. I'm Julie and this is a channel for women over 50. So I'm sorry I've been absent for a while, guys. I'll catch you up a little bit on what's been going on in my life. First of all, 2 weeks ago I lost my kitty, Kendra. My kitties are my babies. I know a lot of you understand the bonds that we have with our animals, and this one was particularly hard. It's hard enough to lose a kitty when they've lived a full life. Average cat lifespan is about 17, 18 years. The last cat I lost was about 18 years old. But Kendra was only 11, and I had her for less than 3 years. She had been thrown away a couple times in her life, and so she finally had a home where she was loved and appreciated and spoiled, and I just wish that I could have spoiled her for longer. My boys are resting on the floor now. I still have my two boys, Jack and Jaden. I think you guys have seen both of them, and fortunately they have each other, but that was really hard for me. And then the next week I got a horrible stomach virus. So all I wanted to do was sleep, and just dealing with that. I'm still not feeling 100%, but I do feel a lot better than I did. So we'll get back to producing our videos again now, hopefully, and get on our regular schedule again. So I wanted to talk a little bit today about trying to figure out what to eat. Of course, my main goal is to lose weight. I am probably about 50 pounds over what I would like to be, my ideal weight. I've had a number of conversations that I've told you guys about with my gynecologist. And she has adjusted the hormones a lot. I was able to lose 10 pounds between the hormones and the stomach flu. Not the best way to go on a diet, but hey, I'll take it. So I'm 10 pounds down. That's a great start. She did adjust my estrogen again the other day. I picked up, she wanted me to switch from the estrogen pills to the patches, so I picked those up yesterday, I think. Yeah, yesterday. So I'll slap one of those on today and see how that goes. But just reading about a lot of foods, doing a lot of research on foods, and finding some interesting information. And it's difficult now because there are so many processed foods out there. And even the foods that are not supposed to be as processed, like different grains, breads and things like that, are not the same as they used to be. Say back, I've been doing some comparisons between the 1800s and now, and what the differences in these foods are. And I'm not going to show you all the information on that. You can look it up yourselves if you want to. But going back a little bit, in I think it was about 2019, I started having a lot of issues with my stomach. It was just upset all the time. I was having all kinds of problems with it. And I went to doctor after doctor, and I did all these tests. They were talking about taking my gallbladder out, all sorts of things. And they weren't really able to find what was causing these stomach problems for me. So in the middle of all of this, I had a trip planned where I went with a friend of mine. We went to Norway and Finland. And while we were in Norway and Finland, for about half the trip we were on a boat, and the food on this boat was just amazing. There was fresh seafood and fresh salad. There were so many wonderful things to eat on this boat. And then kind of continued as we went into Finland. A lot of reindeer meat we ate. Um, so, and while I was in Norway and Finland, all my stomach issues disappeared. So I came to the conclusion on my own and for absolutely free, after I'd paid all this money for all these tests, and well, it wasn't free. I had to had to pay for the trip to Norway and Finland, but it showed me that my body was rejecting ultra processed foods. And as I came back, occasionally, and I still do it to this day, occasionally I'll get something that's ultra processed and my stomach just clenches up and starts cramping and all kinds of nasty things. So I discovered that the ultra processed foods were causing me trouble. So I've tried to take a lot of them out of my diet. So trying to remove all the ultra processed foods from my diet, which is difficult. And then the way that I lost the first 5 or 6 pounds of my weight loss was decreasing carbs really seriously, and eating a lot of the keto carbs, the low carb breads and pastas. And I found some really good ones. The problem again with those is they're not as processed as some of the other foods. They're still processed and they're still carbs. So, looking into some information online, it talks about why our generation got sicker. We switched to margarine, margarine is really nasty, y'all. Flies won't even eat margarine if you leave it out on the table. So apparently margarine contributed to a lot of heart disease that we were blaming butter for. We avoided eggs. I remember following different things on TV, at some point they say, okay, milk is bad for you. Now milk is good for you. Now milk is bad for you again. And they did the same thing with eggs. Eggs are good for you. Eggs are bad for you. And when they started in on the eggs, I quit listening to them. I'm like, these people don't know what they're talking about. The introduction of skim milk removed the fat. That has a lot of vitamins in it. And there's a lot of discussion about milk too. Are human beings really made to digest cow's milk? Probably not, but so that we throw that in the mix too. The use of replacing lard with vegetable oils. Vegetable oils are really nasty. So that's not a good thing. And then the low fat craze. So when fat is removed from processed foods, it's replaced with sugar, refined carbs, and sodium to keep the same taste in there. So that's not a good thing either. So, and then looking back on what has changed in our food since the 1800s, and a lot has changed. Sugar is one of the big ones. In the 1800s, the average person ate 10 to 22 pounds annually per person. So say about 10, 15, 20 pounds of sugar in the 1800s. Today, people eat 150 pounds plus per year. So it's a huge difference in the amount of sugar in our diets. And if you look, sugar's in about everything. Sugar's in bacon, sugar's in ketchup, sugar's in bread. So many things have hidden sugar in there. Also carbs. In the 1800s, grains and breads had a lot of fiber in them, and they were a lot less sweet, so not all the sugar in there. Today, they do selective breeding of the grains, which means higher sweetness, higher shelf life, and higher starch also. So, the food has changed a lot. And I pulled a graphic out, and I can show that to you now. That shows the difference in obesity, the percentage of people that are obese between the 1960s and today. And as you can see, everybody has gone up, all ages have gone up, which should not be a surprise to anybody here. And I'm not going to go into all the statistics of it. You guys can look that stuff up by yourself. It's not that hard to find. And then I think in the early 1900s, the introduction of breakfast cereals didn't do us any good either. In the 1900s, the breakfast cereal companies convinced us that we all should be eating 100% carbs for our breakfast. So you have a bowl of Raisin Bran, or kids especially would have a bowl of Fruit Loops or Cocoa Puffs or something just absolutely nasty. Oatmeal's, and I'm not the biggest fan of oatmeal. And again, to remind y'all, I'm not a nutritionist, not a healthcare professional. This is all my opinion. But doing all this research, I feel personally that I need to get back to all more natural foods. But even the meats are so processed these days. They feed the chickens antibiotics and just all kinds of nasty stuff. So it's difficult to get away from all that stuff. So doing a lot of research, trying to find meats that are not raised with antibiotics and not ultra processed. Buying bacon that's not cured with sugar, and so it doesn't have all these additives in it. It's difficult to find foods these days that are truly pure and healthy. But I think that I can make better choices than I have in the past. A little bit about myself too. Growing up, we didn't eat anything growing up that wasn't ultra processed. Just about everything we ate came out of a can, and we were not poor growing up. We were, middle class Americans. We had money for food. But it seemed like everything came out of a can. My mom wouldn't even buy the chicken that comes in the big can, and you pull it out, it's kind of gelatinous and really nasty. But we ate a lot of that. We ate, I remember my mom bought potato buds, potatoes in a box. You would add water and fluff it up, and you'd have mashed potatoes. And potatoes aren't that hard to make. I don't know why my mother did that, but it was one of the things she did. I remember a friend of my sister's came over for dinner one night, and the dinner was laid out on the table, and she looked at it, and she said, "Where's the salad?" And my sister and I looked at each other, we're like, "Salad?" That's something you get at a restaurant. And I don't think, speaking of restaurants, the only restaurant I ever remember going to when I was a kid was McDonald's. We did a lot of fast food. I don't think I actually went to a nice restaurant until I was in my teens. I remember going to a steakhouse with my grandfather for the first time as an early teen, maybe like 12 or so. He took us to a steakhouse, and that was the first time I had cheesecake too, and I was just shocked. So that was my experience growing up, and I remember walking into a produce section as I think I was like college age when I went to the produce section, and I was just shocked. I'm like, oh my gosh, all this stuff doesn't start out in a can. It was amazing to me. All the fresh fruits and vegetables that were available, because we just didn't do that as a kid. So I've had to overcome a lot of that. And then, like I said, it's just the food manufacturers make it so difficult to eat healthy now. I think our country wants us to be unhealthy, because the pharmaceutical companies can make a whole lot more money that way. So we're fighting against all that. It's difficult. Unless you bake your own bread, which honestly I'm not going to do. It's hard to get a bread that's not ultra processed. I think things are becoming available more as consumers are pushing for them, but they're all a whole lot more expensive. So it is difficult. It's a challenge. I know I'm going through it. So I have decided to attempt to cut out basically all carbs except for those that are found in vegetables, and no starchy vegetables at all. I'm just going to go on a carnivore diet with meat and vegetables. Honestly, I love vegetables, and I can't just stop eating them for a pure carnivore diet. But the research that I did seems to say that adding in the vegetables won't affect the weight loss at all. So I'm getting everything ready. I had everything ready right before I got sick, and just wasn't in a place where I could be cooking. But I have everything now. I'm gonna start that diet. So some tips for eating real food. Shop, and most of you have already heard all these, but I'll go through a couple of them real quick. So shop the perimeter of the store, outside, the edge where you've got the produce. You've got your eggs and your dairy and your meat all around the edges. Everything in the middle is canned, and all your pasta, rice, chips, soda, all that's in the middle of the store. So if you shop mainly around the perimeter of the store, you might be in a little bit better shape. Also, on everything that you buy, read the ingredients. Try not to buy things that have ingredients that you can't pronounce or you don't know what they are. Simple, very simple ingredients are the best way to go. Buy in season fruits and vegetables. Shop at the local farmers market is a great place to find stuff that's in season, and you don't have to wonder if it's in season or not, because the farmers are not going to have it if it's not in season. And they also will do some products like jams and things like that may be a little bit cleaner than what you can find in the stores. Cook at home instead of eating takeout. I know takeout is easier. I've been there. I've eaten a lot of takeout, but the more you can cook at home, it's easier to control what's in your food. And then prep your snacks also. If you have them prepped, you have them in advance, you're less likely to go to, say, the vending machine at work and get a bag of chips or get a cookie or something that tastes really good. So that's what I'm personally working on right now. And, you guys are on this journey with me, so I will let you know how it goes. Hopefully the weight loss will continue, and the hormones will continue helping me out with that. But that's where we are. So, I got this video all done, y'all, and I forgot to include the Badass Woman of the Week. So this week we're looking at Gladys Brown West, who was born in 1930. She was a mathematician. She was known for her contributions to mathematical modeling of the shape of the Earth and her work on the development of satellite geodesy models. Don't know if I said that right or not. Which were later incorporated into the global positioning system. So we have Ms. Gladys West to thank for the current GPS. So all that being said, please remember to like and subscribe. It does help my channel out. Also, you can follow me on Facebook and Instagram. Thanks for joining me today, and I'll see y'all next time. Bye, everybody.